afternoon. It's Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center. It's about 5:15 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, coming on with another update here on strengthening tropical storm Ophelia. You can see on the satellite imagery here, we've had an increase of shower and thunderstorm activity near the center of the storm, and the U.S. Air Force Reserve hurricane hunters have been flying into the Ophelia this afternoon and have given us some data that's shown that the system has strengthened. Maximum sustained winds are now up to around 70 miles per hour. We've seen the pressure falling. System is now looking more like a tropical cyclone, and but you can still see it has this large outer circulation, this large band of wind and rain that's advancing north, well north of the center up into the mid-Atlantic states. But we're increasingly concerned about the potential for some very strong tropical storm winds, a possibility of even hurricane conditions along portions of the North Carolina coast as we go through tonight and early Saturday. Right now, Ophelia is moving off to the north-northwest at around 13 miles per hour. And if we look at the radar imagery here, you can see moderate to heavy rainfall across much of eastern North Carolina, spreading west along the I-95 corridor, now reaching into portions of the Hampton Roads area, approaching Richmond, moving up portions of the Delmarva Peninsula. So you can see well in advance of the center, conditions are already starting to deteriorate up into the mid-Atlantic states late this Friday afternoon. And we have the new information here is we have a hurricane watch that's been issued from north of Surf City to Ocracoke Inlet. So that's Onslow and Carteret counties in North Carolina. It's places like Topsail Beach, Morehead City, Beaufort, over to Cape Lookout. That's where we could see hurricane conditions. It's possible that Ophelia could get up to near hurricane strength. It's only 5 miles per hour short right now. So that is an area where we're increasingly concerned about the potential for more significant wind impacts. Could be some structural damage, certainly some power outages here across portions of eastern North Carolina. And we're expecting the center of Ophelia to reach the coast sometime early Saturday morning here in that hurricane watch area. We have a tropical storm warning in effect all the way from Cape Fear, all the way through the rest of the coast of North Carolina, the Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds, up through much of the Chesapeake Bay, up to Fenwick Island, Delaware, and for portions of the lower tidal Potomac River. And you can see those tropical storm force winds here in the orange extend out almost 300 miles to the north of the center. And those winds are going to advance northward, reaching into the mid-Atlantic states overnight tonight and spread northward Saturday through that tropical storm warning area. So again, widespread impacts, starting first with the wind, and then also from storm surge. We have expanded the storm surge warning now to cover other portions of the North Carolina Outer Banks, but basically all of the Outer Banks of North Carolina, much of the coastline of Virginia on the bay side of the Chesapeake Bay, including the James, the York, the Rappahannock, portions of the lower Potomac rivers. Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds are under a storm surge warning in the dark purple color here, and that's indicative of the expectation of the danger of life-threatening inundation from water moving over normally dry ground. And we can see we're especially concerned here in portions of the Pamlico and Neuse rivers on the west side of the Pamlico Sound. We can see 4 to 6 feet of inundation above ground level in places like New Bern, Little Washington, up those rivers as that water gets forced in ahead of the circulation of Ophelia and pushed up into those narrowing rivers, and that water level is going to rise. So in some of those locations, I'm 6 feet tall. That's water that's nearly up to or right at the top of my head. Elsewhere in the yellow areas, we're looking at widespread inundation of 2 to 4 feet above ground level for places like Albemarle Sound, the rest of the Pamlico Sound region, the lower Chesapeake Bay, Hampton Roads, portions of the eastern shore, and the lower tidal Potomac River. So again, widespread impacts from coastal flooding and storm surge, even north of the storm surge watch and warning area into the upper Chesapeake Bay, Delaware Bay, the New Jersey shore. We could see 1 to 3 feet of inundation above ground level in those regions. And we're most concerned about this is inundation is going to occur over multiple high tide cycles starting tonight and continuing in through Saturday and even late Saturday up into portions of the mid-Atlantic states. On the rainfall front, we're expecting widespread heavy rainfall totals, 3 to 5 inches, isolated amounts as high as 7 inches across portions of eastern North Carolina, southeastern Virginia, basically along and east of I-95. And those rainfall totals will be a little lower, but still widespread, 2 to 4 inches back into central Virginia, the Washington, D.C. metro area, Baltimore, up along the I-95 corridor into the mid-Atlantic states, even up into the New York City region, 1 to 3 inches as we get later into the weekend into portions of southern New England. In terms of the impacts from the rainfall, we're most concerned about the potential for flash flooding. Could be isolated significant impacts from flash flooding across portions of coastal North Carolina tonight and into early Saturday. And then in portions of southeastern Virginia, the Richmond metro area, we're concerned about from Saturday into Saturday night and Sunday. But everywhere in this yellow area, we could at least see some scattered impacts from flash flooding. That includes places like Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New York, as we go into the weekend. On the tornado front, we do have the risk of tornadoes. Most likely, if we were to see any, would be over the North Carolina Outer Banks, the coastal North Carolina region, and up into the Tidewater region of Virginia. So again, we've got a lot of impacts, widespread impacts expected from Ophelia. They're already ongoing in portions of coastal North Carolina, going to spread northward into the mid-Atlantic states and last well into Saturday and into Saturday night, and even linger into portions of Sunday. So again, you're going to want to follow any advice you're given by your local officials, especially if you're in that storm surge watch warning area, especially in those areas along the Neuse and the Pamlico rivers on the west side of the Pamlico Sound in North Carolina. Again, stay tuned for more information as we go through the night and into Saturday. You can get information here from the National Hurricane Center at hurricanes.gov. You can find more information from your local National Weather Service office at weather.gov. So be safe and stay tuned for more information. We'll be back with more later. I'm Mike Brennan here at the National Hurricane Center.